let us go into the concepts. We are going to discuss about reservoir engineering related areas over here. So what are the things we are going to cover? One is dry mechanisms, rock properties, fluid properties, wettability, capillary pressure curves, reservoir estimation techniques, MBE, flow regimes, oil and gas formation volume factor, relationship between porosity and permeability. So this is how we are going to continue our things. I added a little bit more like production decline curves and other things. We will see while going into it. So first of all, everybody knows about the primary recovery mechanism. First one, rock and liquid expansion. Second one is depletion drive mechanism. Third one is gas cap. Fourth one is water drive and gravity drainage and combination. Combination means any one among that. When we go to rock and liquid expansion, what exactly is rock and liquid expansion? What is rock, what is liquid? Like, let us talk two in a different way. Rock expansion, liquid expansion. How rock will be expanded? You already know what is compressibility. When there is a term called compressibility, means something is being compressed. Sponge can be compressed. At the same way, all the solids in this earth has a property to get compressed, but there are certain ferrous substances, granite substances that cannot be compressed. Even water is incompressible fluid. So but most of the sedimentary stones which we encounter inside our reservoir are compressible. When they couldn't compress, means they won't even accumulate crude oil into its reservoir pores. So if it has to be a reservoir, means it should have the property of compressibility. With the effect of overburden pressure exerted by the earth, like there are number of layers will be there above your reservoir. So that will, what you say, pressurize your reservoir to an extent so that all the pores will be compressed. It will be closed. There won't be any pore. It will be just closed. Like when you are pressing any sponge or something, the pore spaces will be compressed. It will be constricted. There won't be any empty space over there. So that when it is being compressed, some amount of crude oil could be locked there. Some amount of crude oil might be displaced from that particular empty space. So some will be locked, some will be displaced. But when that means already oil which have been displaced is there beside this particular compressible pore area. But this inside this compressible area also there is a nano level of crude oil will be present. Once the crude oil which is beside that particular pore volume, if it gets produced, then the empty space will be released. Then the pore volume of that compressed pore will open. In that way, that nano level of oil will start to be pushed towards your reservoir, like production well, or else into the produced zone. So that means until the crude oil have been produced by your production well, these nanospore spaces will be blocked. Once the crude oil starts to produce into your production well, then pressure will be released so that your compressed rock will get expanded. Once it gets expanded, then the oil which is present inside that pore may have a chance to just expel from that particular pore to the produced oil. So in that way it can be produced into your production well. That is how rock expansion will help you to produce oil. But one more thing is there. You can see there is a term called PV reduction. PV means nothing but pore volume reduction. When crude oil starts to get produced into your well, again empty space is being generated. In that way, the overburden pressure, when there is no fluid or gas is occupied over there inside empty space, means it has to be closed. Because of the overburden pressure, that pore spaces will be closed. Why? Because no oil, no gas. When there is oil and gas is there, that will be compressed. Once it is expelled, it will be closed. Once it is closed, then porosity itself will be reduced. So pore volume, that kind of effect, we name it as rock expansion effect. Like when rock will be expanded, when the oil surrounded by it, if it gets produced, then your rock will start to get expand, so that the nano level of oil which is present inside the pore spaces will be expelled. Once it is expelled, again the pores will be closed. In that way, again pore volume will be reduced. Liquid expansion. Alright, that is also which is there inside the reservoir. When pressure gets reduced, the gas, solution gas which is present inside the liquid will start to get expand. Why? Because this is not water. If water is there, it cannot be compressed, but this is oil, means it was compressed. When there is oil is there, incompressible oil will be like very thick, low API gravity, which is having density higher than water. So these are the only oils which are not compressible. But most of the oils what you find in normal reservoirs are compressed. So these compressible oils, when the pressure gets relieved, the solution gas which is present inside the oil will start to get expanded. In that way, oil again will be released. So liquid will expand. Why? Because of the solution gas which is present inside the reservoir. That even you can see, you can connect this liquid expansion to our solution gas. But the thing is, solution gas drive will act as a drive mechanism, but here solution gas will help your liquid to get expanded. So it is not just only solution gas, but it is compressed solution that is expanding. Already your liquid have been compressed by your rock pressure. Once your oil starts to produce into the well, then you will, that empty space which is generated inside the pore volume will allow your liquid to get expand. Why? Because it was compressed earlier. Okay, that is how this liquid will help you to liquid expansion will help you to produce this liquid into your production well. Okay, this is all infinitesimal level of giving recovery. It may not be above 10% or 20%, even the recovery may be around 2 to 3%. So recovery stage is very much like recovery what you are expecting from these two mechanisms will be very much low. Contribution, the second point is actually to say 1 or 2% or else 3% of recovery. GOR representing gas oil ratio. Gas oil ratio means gas to oil ratio. Per 1 barrel of oil production, how much amount of cubic feet of gas is produced. So that is the definition of gas oil ratio. So 1 unit of oil produced, then with that unit of oil, how much amount of gas is been produced. Imagine that you are producing 1 barrel of oil, means you might be producing 1000 cubic feet of gas. If you are, sometimes what will happen is gas oil ratio will increase and decrease. It depends. Like sometimes at 1 barrel of oil you may produce 10,000 cubic feet of gas. Sometimes 1 barrel of oil may lead to 1 lakh cubic feet of gas. So it depends. So right now the gas oil ratio for rock as well as liquid expansion will show a flat, like it will be constant, it will never change. Why? Because here the application of gas is not there, so in that way there is no change in GOR, gas oil ratio, no change. And reservoir pressure, rapid decline. Because of this declination only these expansions will happen. If reservoir pressure is not declined, means imagine that high pressure is there inside your reservoir, will not allow you either liquid or rock to get expanded. Why? Because of that pressure, overburden pressure as well as reservoir pressure, both liquid as well as rock are being compressed. Once if it is declined, like pressure have been declined, then only there is a chance of liquid expansion as well as rock expansion. So this is how a liquid and rock expansion. Contribution is low, GOR is constant. This is how you have to remember. So the contribution for this particular drive mechanism will be very low. It may be less than 5% of your total oil production. GOR is constant and reservoir pressure will decline. When it comes to depletion drive mechanism,
So,
yes.
so what kind of flow we can expect in this rock and expansion drive?
What kind of flow? Like you are telling, like steady state, pseudo, that one.
Yes, sir. Whether it is steady. Yes.
It is always unsteady
As the
state.
pressure is rapidly declining,
Yeah, it is always unsteady state.
unsteady state.
Yeah. Why? Because these drive mechanisms will be seen only in unsteady state flow. Only water drive mechanism you can able to expect steady state flow. Remaining most of the other reservoirs, other things are all unsteady state flow only. Only water drive will take us to
So
steady
the
state flow. Yeah. Yes,
Okay, sir.
yes.
Got it, sir.
Okay. Let us go into depletion drive mechanism as it has other synonyms like solution gas drive, dissolved gas drive and internal gas drive. So these three with the depletion. So it has four names actually: depletion drive, solution gas drive, dissolved drive and internal gas drive. So in this diagram there are like two producing wells were given. So you can see oil zone is there. Below that you can see this is the zone below oil is water zone. The below oil is always water, so it will be water zone. See here, once oil gets when the reservoir pressure gets declined, then automatically solution gas will start to build up. It will start go slowly, slowly, slowly. It will start to get expanded. So once it gets expanded, it will make oil to move. Like gas is mobile phase, like it will be moving very fastly and flexibly, but not the oil. Oil has very low viscosity. When it compared to viscosity, gas is the highest, even compared with water. So once solution gas which is present inside oil will start to get developed, then it will start to push oil towards your production well. Why? Because of this gas which has a natural property of mobility that will help your oil to be produced, or else it will be pushed towards your production well that can be produced by your well. So that is how it is showing. You can see the arrow marks which is helping you to understand the direction of the flow where the bubbles are moved towards your perforations. From perforations it is moving towards wellhead on the both sides. So this is how your depletion drive mechanism, or else solution gas drive, or else dissolved, or else internal. So this drive mechanism will help your solution gas to get generated inside your oil zone, and then it. So you can ask me one question, sir, what happens if you cross bubble point level? Why? Because until bubble point level it will expand. Everybody knows that until you reach your bubble point pressure is being dropped, and until you reach your bubble point pressure, this solution gas is getting expanded. With this expansion, your oil is being pushed towards your production well. But once you go below bubble point level, what will happen? Then it will not help your oil to drive towards your production well. This gas, solution gas, which is present inside the oil, will escape and it will start to produce inside your production well. Means what? It in place of oil, after, like once the pressure drops below bubble point, gas itself will start to come into your production well. Why? Because it will keep oil behind. Once its bubble point itself says that escape of gas. That is the simple thing. Like once you reach that pressure, you have to be always remember when you are coming near to that pressure means it is an alarming time. So once you cross that pressure means your gas will escape. It will not help you to push your oil. So until bubble point, it will push oil towards your production well. So this is the what is a landmark. You need to keep it until you reach that bubble point. You have a there is nothing for you to do, nothing to you to invest, so that it can be applied as a force. Here naturally solution gas will help crude oil to be produced inside your production well by its mobility. But once you cross bubble point, then it will escape. Then how to detect the drive mechanism is depletion drive or not? So these are the specifications. Reservoir pressure declines rapidly and continuously, and GOR increases because of because of the gas which is present inside the oil, that is solution gas. So that slowly gas oil ratio will increase. Once you cross your bubble point level, rapid inclination of your GOR. But you have to make it in such a way that it should increase in a constant way. Until anyway you're going to see that bubble point after some time. But until you reach your bubble point, you have to drag the time. You have to avoid bubble point for a long time. In that way you can able to produce good amount of crude oil. Then water production, since here oil and gas is there is no chance of water. Well behavior requires pumping at early stage. Why? Because you need to generate that kind of pressure surges that will create solution gas. Normally solution gas will be compressed inside oil. So with the deflections of pressure, then only that will help your solution gas to become mobile, and it will push your oil towards your, others it will be static, it will not be dynamic. You have to make solution gas to become dynamic. For that reason you need to pump at early stage. Like SRP will help you to create that pressure surges that will help solution gas which is present inside the oil will start to generate and it will start to move towards production well side. In that way, while moving, that helps like a drive mechanism, it will drive oil towards your production well. And a recovery you can expect from 5 to 30% from this particular drive mechanism. Let us come to gas cap. Gas cap, the name itself says it is gas which is present above oil that will try to push down. Like most of the gases which is present inside oil will escape to top, so that gas cap will start to get bigger. And mostly what they will say is gas cap volume will be 3 times larger than oil reservoir. So always you have to remember that gas cap, the volume of gas cap should be 3 times the volume of your oil zone. If that is the case, then it acts like a drive mechanism. It will give you good amount of drive energy in such a way that the oil can be pushed towards your production well. So you can see the directions. Gas is escaping to top. In that way, oil is that whole GOR is pushing oil towards your production well. In the same, this is the top view, and you can see here gas is pushing towards down so that the oil will start to produce inside your production well. So these are the specifications, like reservoir pressure falls slowly. So when why? Because here reservoir pressure you have to maintain it. Gas cap reservoir is maintaining it. Actually, that is a good sign. Like when reservoir pressure drops drastically means you need to understand that there is this pressure acts like an energy which is supplied from the reservoir. This reservoir pressure will also act like an energy. When reservoir pressure is there at highest point, then only you can able to produce good amount of crude oil. That means if reservoir pressure drops drastically means you can understand that reservoir pressure is directly proportional to your wellbore pressure, means that pressure is being dropped. When wellbore pressure have been completely dropped means you can understand that oil production is going to be ceased soon. So you have to maintain some amount of pressure so that oil production will be constant. You have to maintain how much long distance it can be possible by applying this permutations combination of the drive mechanisms which you have inside that reservoir, so that it will make your production to continue in a constant way. Okay, you have to do something like you know that gas cap is there, you know that water drive is there, you know that depletion drive is there. So you think that which one I will allow this drive mechanism to do first job. Like you may be thinking whether I will go with water to be allowed to produce, or else let me go to oil, or else for gas. So like that you need to do some kind of random analysis in such a way that you can take a decision that yes, I will go first with water, then with gas, then with solution gas, and finally with gravity or something like that. Why? Because most of the reservoirs will carry all these drive mechanisms. Sometimes maybe water will be missing. In that way, other three. So you have to see what type of drive mechanisms were initially there and which one will give you the best. For that reason, which will help you to allow the drive mechanism to continue for longer time. And what will be the first one? See, everybody knows that we don't want water. If gas is there also, gas will be secondary, but the primary one which we are going to see for is oil only. So when oil has to be produced means you have to open the perforations below gas oil contact and above oil water contact. This is the simple thing. Like some people may ask you a question like we have so many drive mechanisms out there, which one you will choose? So for that reason a reservoir engineer has to analyze in this way, like first primary thing which I want is oil, second one is gas, final one water. We don't have any purpose for that water. Why? Because it has ppm above 1 lakh. There is no use for that water. You can't even recycle it. Why? Because it will take more. If that is the case, 30,000 ppm seawater is enough compared to oil which is having 1 lakh ppm. So it has lot of research investment is there to be done for that recycling of oil water, oil field water. So that is wastage of us. So water can be used as a drive mechanism. So you have to use it. So you need to maintain water which cannot be produced inside your well. For that reason, what to do? So water drive has to be kept at last. water has to be produced at last. First, initially you need to concentrate on oil to be produced, then you have to go for gas, then finally leave it so that water will come. At that time you can shut the well, and this water can be used for some other purposes, some which the oil which is present in other drainage area you can make it to be pushed, like infill drilling and other things can be done. So this kind of questions may be asked. Out of all drive mechanisms, which drive mechanism will be given the first preference? And you have to answer in such a way that simply I cannot say that a water drive mechanism. Why? Because water may not be there. Immediately he may ask, if water is not there, then the next best one what will be? So it depends on gas. So if gas itself is not there, so what it will be there? Solution gas which is present inside the oil. Okay, so these are all the things you have to analyze, and you have to come to a conclusion that everything is important, but the first primary one is oil, second one is gas. Once after producing oil, you allow your well to get produced by gas. Okay, so finally, once gas completely ends, then if you could produce water for pumping in injection well, or else just leaving that water as it is, no issue. So like that way you have to go. So reservoir pressure falls slowly representing that it is maintained. So that is a good sign. Water production, since we are talking about gas cap, so there won't be any water production inside your water production means water cut inside your well. That is what exactly it says. Nil means no water. GOR rises. Why? Because it's gas cap reservoir. So you can able to expect that per amount of oil, if today like 1 barrel 10,000 cubic feet of gas has been produced, means after some time the same barrel it may take around 20,000 or 30,000 cubic feet of gas will be required to push your oil. So in that way GOR will rise, and a recovery 20 to 40%, reasonable. Then let us go for water drive mechanism. We have two types of water drive. One is aquifer and another one is bottom drive mechanism. So bottom drive, you can see like where is oil water contact, directly it will be only one line, but aquifer you will be having different oil water contacts at different lines. So that is what it shows. You can see here, this is the production well where water is pushing oil water. See here, what we have to understand is you cannot you cannot allow water to push at one particular location. Whole oil water contact has to rise up. So you have to do some kind of operation in such a way that your whole oil water contact is raising up, means automatically a good amount of oil is being produced by your production well. But there are certain cases are there where at one particular location only water will act, and other locations it may not act. In that way, what will happen is immediately water will start to cone into your well. So it will create a coning effect. Like in place of oil, water will start to get produced inside your perforations. That is not a good sign. So you have to do any kind of operation. So I'm talking, it is not just I'm talking about primary, I'm talking with respect to EOR. Why? Because if you have to do any operation to water, it may come to secondary, and then next comes EOR. So I am telling about that. Why? Because at primary stage that will not happen. Like your oil water contact will be maintained, and it will help to push oil towards your production well. So it will go in a static way, no issue. But when you come to secondary stage, then you will be coming with the concepts of mobility ratio and other things will come. So you need to maintain permeability of water in such a way that oil water contact is not becoming a cone. So in place, it should not become a cone. It has to be maintained as it is. If it is rising up parallelly, it should rise up. It should not, if somewhere water action is more, mobility is more, means immediately it will cone into your perforations. Then it leads to avoid a lot of oil which was supposed to be produced by crude production well will be avoided. Then water will start to produce in place of oil. So that has to be maintained. And this is in if you talk about all drive mechanisms, the best one you can say is water drive mechanism. And you can see the characteristics of this. Reservoir pressure will be high. Why? Because water will maintain. It is an incompressible fluid. Nothing can compress water. So even the overburden pressure or whatever pressure, if it is applied there, as I told you, rock and liquid expansions are being done. Why? Because they are not related to water. but water by itself is incompressible. So nothing can be compressed. Because of that character, it can maintain reservoir pressure to be maximum. Surface gas oil ratio, that also, gas oil ratio remains low. Why? Because we don't deal with gas here, so obviously there is no gas oil ratio, or it's a little gas oil ratio. Water production starts early and increasing to appreciable amount. See here, when in this characteristics they are telling about starts early water production. Why? Because there is a chance of water to produce into your perforations. Why? Because since water is being the dry mechanism, it is the primary one. You have to be careful enough to maintain that kind of dry mechanism towards oil water contact only. You do some mistake, then water will start to come into your perforations, and that will be not a good sign. You have to close the well. You have to make water until it goes with gravity towards down. So you have to do some kind of operations when water starts to get produced. So that is the reason it may start early, but increases to appreciable amount. So it may increase. You have to avoid that increasing part of water. So that is what exactly they want to tell about this. Well behavior, flow until water production gets excessive. Why? Because see, you have to avoid water production. See, it will be flowing until water production gets excessive. You can see water cut percentage when oil is being produced. Okay, imagine like earlier I told you, when 1 barrel of oil, the gas oil ratio means 1000 cubic feet of gas will be there. Here, for per 1 barrel of water, you should be expected around 3 to 4 barrels of oil. So sometimes what will happen is oil water ratio also will increase. So if it is increasing, that is good. If it is decreasing, like if 1 barrel of water is helping you to produce less than 1 barrel of oil, then that is not a commercial output. See, you are getting water as well as oil. Both you are started to get like an emulsion, and you have to do that separation operation over there. That has to be invested. So you have to maintain in such a way that per 1 barrel of water, it should give you at least 3 to 4 barrels of oil. That is the minimum one. It has to go beyond that. Even if you go lesser than that, that will be better rather than above that one. Expected oil recovery 35 to 75%. It will never be 75%, where it may come up to 60% only. Why? Because from 60 onwards, secondary recovery method will be there, then finally EOR. So 75 for a heterogeneous reservoir may not be possible, but for homogeneous reservoir you may expect. So you can take this relations to homogeneous reservoirs. But when it comes to heterogeneous, you need lot of artificial pumping has to be done. Artificial techniques like EOR has to be done. Okay, let us go for gravity. See, gravity drive mechanism, as per textbook they have mentioned recovery is 80%, and why it is showing the best even compared with water, that we have to understand. Why? Because gravity means, imagine that water with high gravity it will settle down, gas with low gravity will go to top. So when gravity is acting on both gas, oil and water, then automatically they settle in their own positions. That itself will allow oil to get produced inside your production well. So gravity will also act as a dry mechanism. Like with gravity, gas will move to top. With gravity, oil will go to down. So that effect of gravity is making water and gas to drive oil towards your production well. That is what they want to tell. If water, if the impact of water is high, imagine like if oil and water were mixed very high, because of gravity water is coming down, means it is allowing oil to go to top, means above oil water contact, that will help that oil to go towards your production well. So rapid declination of reservoir pressure will allow gas to go to top, at the same time water will be coming to down. GOR, low for low structure, and VV means vice versa, means high for high structure. This is low structure. When these production wells were at here, it will be high. Why? Because you can see water production will be low. So gas oil ratio means indirectly you can take it like gas. So just let us go with the gas. Gas oil ratio will be low for low structure. Why? Because at low you are near to water zone, so there won't be much impact of gas. But vice versa means high for high structure. when these production wells are at a top, that is which is near to your gas zone, that will become high. So that is what it shows, gas oil ratio. Water production little or nil. Why? Because water is settling down and water is not moving towards your production well, but it is moving towards below the oil water contact. That will not help water to come into your production well. That is the reason it will be little or nil. If that happens in a proper way, you can able to expect 80% of recovery. But it is mostly this reason is only because of water. Imagine if water percentage is less and gas percentage is more inside your reservoir. I mean, water saturation is less and gas saturation, then you cannot expect 80%. Because of your water which is having dominant saturation compared to gas, you can able to expect 80%. It is a case, it may be up and down, it will be a case. You can take it simply like combination drive mechanisms. As I said earlier, it is the combination of all reservoirs, maybe 2 or 3 or 1, like gravity and water will be there. Gravity will be there, every reservoir will be having gravity as a common drive mechanism, and sometimes depletion drive will be there, so sometimes depletion gravity, or else gas gravity, water gas depletion gravity, or else depletion water. So like this, you can able to see what kind of drive mechanisms are there. So with that all combined, what could with the combination of all the drive mechanisms, what can you expect with the recoveries? 35%. And GOR initially high, then low. This GOR will fluctuate. Why? Because of the application of sometimes gas and sometimes water. So GOR sometimes high, initially high, and then low. It may be reverse also. Reservoir pressure for any drive mechanism, it has to decline. So it only with the reduction of reservoir pressure only, all the drive mechanisms will act. Apart from water, water will maintain it. All other drive mechanisms will utilize the reduction of pressure to make them mobile. See, depletion drive, you need reduction in reservoir pressure. For gas, you need reduction of reservoir pressure. And then when it comes to water, water will maintain reservoir pressure. So these are the things, this is only water will maintain reservoir pressure. Depletion drive and gas cap drive will use the reduction of reservoir pressure. Okay, this is how combination drive mechanisms will work out. And let us come to another topic, that is you have any doubt up to here, up to combination drive reservoirs? Anyone is having any doubt?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, like in the initial stage of production, how to know that which drive mechanism we are using?
It depends on the core analysis. Like
How do we identify?
yes. So the drive mechanisms can be identified by coring only. You have to collect a core sample. You need to take it to the laboratory to do the chemical analysis, like how much saturation of water is present inside the reservoir, how much amount of oil, like connate water saturation will be known, and the amount of water which is present inside the core sample will be known. Based on that, you can assess, yes, this particular reservoir is having connate water as a separate saturation and oil filled water as a separate saturation. Sometimes only connate water is there, separation water is not there. That means what? There is no water drive mechanism there. And at the same time, golden yellow fluorescence will help you to identify that there is a chance of presence of hydrocarbons. But there is, like when you are collecting core itself, you can able to assess whether it is liquid saturation of hydrocarbons or gas saturation of hydrocarbons. When liquid saturation is there, you have to find out the rank of oil. If rank was known, like imagine, like if rank is high, means that carbon percentage is high. That means it is having good saturated amount of crude oil, where the gas percentage is low. So if carbon percentage was observed to be low, means gas saturation is high and liquid saturation is being less. So we are going to do this kind of laboratory techniques in labs, so you can able to identify. And apart from this, logging is also there. You can assess what kind of saturation is present, or drill stem testing is there, that will also help you to identify this one. In logging, porosity logs are there, I think, like sonic log, neutron log, and what is the density log. So these three logs will help you to identify where the porous layers are there, and what kind of resistivity log will help you to define the amount of water what is present, like whether it is oil filled water. So these logs will help you to find out the percentage of water what is there. Apart from that, even oil also. Why? Because oil is non-conductive. So definitely in that way, both sides also. So logging will help you. Lab analysis also will help you. Lab analysis which is respected to coring. So that will help you to understand what kind of saturations are present and what kind of dry mechanism. Because of these saturations only, we can identify that there is a dry mechanism is present. And one more technique is that is seismics. Seismics will help you to identify an anticline. Anticline means the structure of your reservoir, which is looking like an inverse convex. Inverse of your convex. Okay, so it looks like a reverse of convex shape. So this anticline represents there is a chance of a reservoir which is produced over there. Even in seismics, you can able to identify the percentage of gas which is present inside your reservoir. So I already told you, when gas percentage it should be like the volume of gas should be 3 times better than oil, then there is a chance of gas to act as a dry mechanism. If gas is not having that 3 times of volume which is compared to oil, then it will not help you to push oil towards your production well. So these things can be analyzed by seismics. Seismics cannot detect oil, but it will detect gas. So, and sound waves will not pass. Some sound waves are there, shear wave, S waves and P waves will be there. So S wave representing shear waves which will not pass through liquid. When it is deflected back, based on the time of deflection, you can able to estimate whether there is a presence of gas or there is a presence of oil or not. When there is an oil, deflection will be very soon. If there is no oil, then it will take more time. So like that, techniques are there to identify what type of gases and what type of fluid saturations present inside your reservoir. That is, there are so many are there. There are, I told you few of them. Okay, Adidev?
Yes, sir.
Okay, shall we go for the next?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, we are going to discuss about rock properties like porosity, permeability, capillary pressures, compressibility and wettability. I am giving you these 5. Why? Because these plays a very major role, but there are so many other properties are there, like even rock compressibility is there. What do you say? There are some other properties like lithological properties and other properties are there, which we are not going to discuss about that. With respect to reservoir, these are the 5 most important properties we are going to discuss. And so these are the properties only I am talking about. What about characteristics? Means the same properties will act as a character. I already told you the definition between properties and character. Properties can be characters, but characters cannot be properties. How property will become character depends on the range. If it is dynamic, like properties become dynamic, means it becomes as a character. Means porosity, spelling mistake is there, porosity. Porosity, permeability, everybody knows what is porosity. Porosity is representing as pore volume by bulk volume. This is the amount of empty spaces present inside your bulk volume. So pore volume by bulk volume is your porosity. Permeability, we will go deeper into that. Permeability will be like, it is the, always remember, permeability is related to rock property. So rock permeability, it is with respect to rock, it is the ability of rock. Permeability is a property which is inherent inside the rock. So rock is having a ability to allow oil to flow from one place to another place. Means ability of a reservoir rock to bypass a fluid. That is what permeability is. Capillary pressure is the pressure difference between non-wetting phase pressure and wetting phase pressure. Compressibility, mathematically C is equal to 1 by V dou V by dou P, means change in volume when you change a pressure with 1 unit. What is the change in volume to the original volume when you change pressure to 1 unit, either less or high? Okay, you are going to observe the change in volume with respect to the original volume, means dou V by V into 1 by dou P. Means dou P representing change in pressure. When you change pressure, when you reduce pressure for 1 psi, what will be the change of volume? That will be known as compressibility. Wettability. Wettability is the property of a rock to attract fluid. Okay, permeability and wettability are different. Permeability means it is the property of a rock to allow fluid to flow through it. Wettability means it is the property of a rock to attract. Okay, it is like attracting. Either it may attract oil, it may attract water. Permeability means it is nothing to attract. Any fluid can come. It should have an ability to allow that fluid to flow through it. How it will allow to any fluid to flow through it? Only interconnected pore spaces. So when there is interconnected pore spaces are there, there is a chance of permeability. So these are the definitions of porosity, permeability, capillary pressures, compressibility and wettability. Let us go one by one. I have given you a sandstone picture of this. This is the sandstone grains, and we have different types of porosities. See here we have different terminologies of the primary, secondary, absolute, effective. What is the meaning of primary porosity? Primary means the porosity which is generated during the birth of your sedimentary rock. It may be sandstone or carbonate stone or any kind of reservoir. The porosity, while it is like forming as a sedimentary rock, if it is generated at that time, like it is a birth, like during the birth of your reservoir rock, the pore spaces which were generated at that time can be considered as primary porosity. But this rock will not stay at one location. It will be eroded. It will be eroded with a lot of storms will be there. If the rock have been born inside a river, means that will be thrown by water waves, streams will be there. So it will not stay in one location. It will be thrown with erosion. So wind will erode the so many like sediments. So in that way also it will be eroded. Water will transgress as well as regress. Transgress, when it is transgressing means it is pushing, that's it. Regressing means it is pulling back. So when the streams are pushing towards forward, rock will be pushed towards forward. So in that way also rock will start to migrate from one location to another. With this erosion, with this weathering effect, if additional porosity was generated inside, then that will be known as secondary. It can be of anything. The reason may be erosion, weathering, transgression, regression, or storms, or any kind of thing. But if any additional porosity is generated during this process, then that name we can give it as to secondary porosity. We can name that as secondary porosity. What is absolute porosity? Absolute porosity is nothing but the amount of pore spaces which is present inside your bulk volume rock towards the whole volume. Means pore volume, either it is interconnected or not interconnected. But even interconnected also you have pore spaces at the same time. Now if they were not interconnected also, they will be having same pore spaces. All together, how much pore space is available? When this pore space is compared to your bulk volume, means the pore volume of your reservoir rock, which includes interconnected as well as non-interconnected. This pore volume to the original volume of your reservoir rock, that can be taken as absolute. When it comes to effective, only interconnected pore spaces. We are ignoring those pore spaces which are not connected to each other. So effective represents only interconnected pore spaces that to the original volume of your reservoir. Obviously you can able to say that absolute is higher or effective will be higher. So you can able to explain effective will be
Is it absolute?
absolute value will be higher or effective value. See, I will show you what is interconnected, what is normal pore spaces. You tell me what is the value of absolute and what is the value of effective. Which one will be higher?
So I guess effective.
Effective will be higher. Why? Because numerator will be lower, so that numerator will be lower, so that automatically what will happen? Absolute is becoming higher, right, when it compares to effective. Why? Because effective means only interconnected pore spaces, which is lower compared to absolute. Interconnected pore spaces plus non-interconnected pore spaces. So here numerator value for absolute is higher compared to effective. So the value of absolute will be higher when it is compared to effective. Why? Because effective will be very less. Sometimes it will be nil. When it is nil means you can understand there is no permeability. You can see a channel here. You can see, if you see this arrow mark, you can see this channel. This is interconnected pore spaces. It is like a fracture. So oil, if it comes here, it can be bypassed and it will be leaving from this region. See, but these white regions which are present here are all non-interconnected pore spaces. Oil may be accumulated here, but it cannot be recovered. You need to create fractures. So, but here you can see this amount of oil can be flown through this channel. So this is where the permeability is. Permeability will be there, but other sides you cannot able to expect good amount of crude oil that can be produced. So that is how, and we have different names for each way of creating pore volume over here. Intragranular, which is in between the grains, the pore spaces is known as intragranular. Dissolution, which is inside the grain, the porosity is known as dissolution. Fractures, as you can see, it looks like a fracture. So that is the fracture porosity, which can contribute to permeability, which will help you to produce good amount of oil also. And microporosity, that is like you can see here, this section was magnified here, so that you can see a little hairline structures are there. Even here also, as I told you, for liquid and rock expansion, this will be compressed. This is like these are the things which will be closed with overburden pressure, where the amount of oil here will be very much minimal. Even though if it gives you for recovery, you do some kind of operation, you will do so many things, you nanotechnology will apply, but ultimately the recovery will be very low. Why? Because the amount of oil is low here. So this is the reason microporosity is like that. Okay, this is for sandstone reservoir. When it comes to carbonate, we have different forms are there, like intraparticle, interparticle. So here all the black spaces are all pore spaces, not the white one. Earlier it is white one, but here the black spaces, you can expect these are to be pore spaces. So the other things are all grains. Moldic means because of overburden and erosion and corrosion of your lithologies also, it will become like a molded forms. So in that way also, this black space will act as a pore volume. Here all the black spaces are the pore volumes. Here you can see the shelter. All other places, even the porosity is there, no formation of fluids, but there will be some particular spaces where it will be accumulated. And here the fractures, this black spaces looks like a fracture. So channeling, vug is like bag like structure. Brachia, this is related to microbes. So these are all below 4 are related to microbes. Boring means intrusion of some kind of microorganisms that will create a channel like these things. Burrow, because of some animals will create such kind of burrows, so that also will impact the porosity. That is very micro level. Shrinkage, so even some animals will allow your pore volume to get shrinked by some microbial activities will happen inside your reservoir that will shrink the porosity. So there are like carbonate, these are the types of carbonate porosities. Okay, so these are all the structures. Let us go into permeability. We have 3 types of permeabilities. One is effective, one is absolute, one is relative. Simply to say, effective is the permeability when there is I already told you, like when there is a presence of another fluid, like imagine like oil and water are there inside your reservoir rock. When you are calculating KO, means the permeability of oil in presence of water, what is the ability of rock to allow oil to flow even though when water is there? That is what we will be naming it as KO. When it comes to kg, in presence of oil as well as water, what is the ability of your reservoir rock for gas to be flown through it? So that is your kg. When it comes to kW, in presence of oil and gas, the ability of a reservoir rock to flow water, that will be known as effective permeability. Absolute. Absolute means when there is no presence of any other fluid, what is the ability of a reservoir rock to allow only one fluid? Either it may be oil or gas or water. So you are allowing reservoir rock to, your reservoir rock is having a property to flow a fluid. But when it is flowing, there should be no other fluid. Means the saturation of fluid in that reservoir rock should be 100%. That is absolute permeability. It may be related to oil or gas or water. Relative KRO, KRG, KRO. See, when you are measuring with respect to oil, KO by K. When you are measuring with respect to KRG, KG by K. When you are respecting with relation to water, KW by K. So this is about basic definitions of permeability. And these are relative permeability graphs which representing two reservoirs. One is oil wet, another one is water wet. So the right one is strongly oil wet and the left one is water wet. Here in gate examination, I think it will help you to understand. They will ask you to identify. They may not tell you what is oil wet or water wet. So only thing is, by seeing this graph, you need to identify what is oil wet reservoir and what is water wet reservoir. So for that reason, what you have to see, always think only one thing. See, if when we are talking about oil wet reservoir, the amount of oil, the mobility of oil will be always less. When you are talking about water wet reservoir, the mobility of oil will be more. You can see that. In water wet reservoir, you can see a big green line which can be seen over here. That represents, when they have given two graphs, in these two graphs you can identify why, because of the green line which shows in a bigger side. So you can take the left one as your water wet. Why? Because the mobility of oil is very high and mobility of water is very low. Here the mobility of water is almost equivalent to the mobility of oil. So when it is compared to this, it looks, but actually to say, I will be telling this as a neutral one. It cannot be a strongly oil wet. If it is strongly oil wet, then what you can able to expect, oil mobility should reduce and water mobility should increase. It is showing a little, but when you are comparing these two, you can say that when the oil mobility is showing very high, that represents its opposite wet, that is water wet. When oil mobility is shown less, then you can able to expect that that is oil wet reservoir. So this is the difference between oil wet and water wet. This one understood, everyone? You have any doubt in this? It's a very important one.
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, it means that if it is an oil wet reservoir, then the mobility of the oil should be more.
If it is oil wet reservoir, mobility of oil will be less. If it is water wet reservoir, mobility of water will be less. Why? Because you think in another way. Wet represents the wettability is it's related to reservoir property only. Means like oil wet reservoir is wetting oil, means it is attracting oil. If it is attracting oil, how it will allow oil to move? So you think like that. If it is attracting water, how it will allow water to move? So movement will be less. So if you see here on the left side, movement is shown with the hike of this graph. That is what relative permeability is all about. So the movement of water is shown very low here. That means it is strongly wetted by water, and oppositely oil is being shown with very high. It is strongly water wet. These are the symptoms which will help us to understand oil is moving fast and water is not moving. It is been completely constricted. It is not moving on very little. The movement of water is very little. That will say that suits this graph, that we can able to say this as a strongly water wet. But you have to see the same effect on the right side. Actually, to say, in place of water it should be oil, in place of oil it should be water. But here both are looking neutral. So since there is a comparison, so they have given it as strongly oil wet. But in general opinion, if you take it, both are having similar way of moving. So if you compare both, you can say this is left one is water wet and the right one is oil wet. But in normal case, when you take in ideal case, the second one is a neutral wet one. Why? Because it is showing both almost similar way of mobilization. So if you could see, in place of blue, green in place of green blue means, then you can say it is strongly oil wet. But this is neutral wet. Okay, anyway, if when you compare it, you can tell like that. Got it up to here?
Okay, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. And one more thing, what your interviewers will expect of one of the most important concept is Klinkenberg effect. Klinkenberg is a scientist. What is that he has done for this concept? Like, what is the effect of Klinkenberg? What exactly he estimated is the viscosity of liquid when it is compared to gas will be very much high. So with that viscosity, the movement of liquid will be very much low, either water or oil, that is up to what we have inside our reservoir. So imagine when there is coexistence of gas as well as liquid, when a little bit pressure is being dropped. Imagine like you have reservoir pressure around 2000 psi where the gas is there as well as oil is there. But from 2000 psi, because of production, it has dropped to a little, like around 10 psi it dropped, means 1990. So with the 10 psi difference, with the 10 psi reduction, what do you expect that liquid to flow? Liquid flow will be minimal, very infinitesimal, a little bit flow will be there. But what about gas? With the 10 psi, the gas may move very fast. That little pressure difference also is enough for gas to move. Even, see, I will tell you, when you reduce, if that is in 10 psi reduction is making liquid to move a little, but what about 1 psi reduction? There won't be any movement of liquid, but still gas will move. You understand?
Yes, sir.
If you reduce 10 psi,
Yes, sir.
then liquid will a little bit. That is what we were expecting. According to theory, it will move a little. I mean, it has a mobility. Your relative permeability graph will little rise. But if you reduce 1 psi, then I don't think your relative permeability graph will little bit hike also. It will not move. But your gas will constantly, it will move. It will not stay static. Why? Because this is the property of gas. A little pressure difference is enough for gas to start moving, even though liquid is not moving. So imagine that when liquid is not being moved, but you are reducing pressure so that gas is being moved, means there will be always some limit will be there. From, imagine that you are reducing pressure from 2000 to 1990. Until you reach the 10 psi difference, you can't see liquid to get moved. But while step by step 1 psi, 2 psi it is reducing, you are seeing gas to move. So when you are reducing pressure, liquid is not moving, gas is moving. So this is what Klinkenberg has estimated, that there is a chance of gas to get mobile, even though when there is no chance of liquid to get mobile because of pressure reduction. That is what he was expecting. So for that reason, how you are going to estimate the movement of gas with respect to liquid? So for that reason, he has given a diagram. So you can see here on x-axis and y-axis, x-axis is 1 by pm, y-axis is gas permeability, measured gas permeability. Gas permeability, I will tell you everything, but just try to understand what is x and y. Gas permeability is nothing but the movement of kg representing the movement of gas. When there is no movement of gas, kg will be 0. When there is movement of gas, then kg will increase. So you can see a line of increment when 1 by pm is increasing. We will come to x-axis right now. What is 1 by pm? pm is nothing but average pressure. Average pressure is upstream plus downstream by 2. Upstream plus downstream by 2. What is upstream pressure? What is downstream pressure? Upstream pressure is your reservoir pressure. Downstream pressure is your wellbore pressure. Because of that pressure difference only, flow is happening. Imagine P1, P2 is there. P1 should be always high compared to P2. If P1 is higher than P2, then flow will happen from P1 to P2. This is the concept. It is happening inside your reservoir well. So when PM is around 2000 psi and P2 is around 1000 psi. So what will be the average of this one will be 1 by Pm will be 1500 PSA, right? 2000 plus 1000 will be 3000, by 2 will give you 1500 PSA. So when the difference is increasing, imagine like when the difference is increasing, like P1 make it constant like reservoir pressure, around 2000 PSA is there, but P2 imagine it is getting increased from 1000 to 2000. Like let us take first point as 1000, then the value of Pm will be 1500. Next take 500. So 2000, 2500 by 2. How much it will be? 2500 by 2, it will be 1750, something like that. So your Pm value is increasing, right? Your Pm value is increasing. You understand up to here the concept?
Yes, sir.
When Pm value is increasing, what will happen to the flow of liquid? Liquid flow will increase or reduce? See here the difference between upstream and downstream pressure, if it is increasing, sorry, difference here I am showing as decrement. If it is decreasing, what will happen to the flow? If it is increasing, what will happen to the flow? See, normally if the difference is high, then the flow will be better. If the difference is low, then the flow will be little. That is what means, upstream pressure should be high and downstream pressure should be low. Then only flow will happen from upstream to downstream. But the downstream pressure is coming close to upstream pressure means the flow will also get declines, right? If P1 is becoming equivalent to P2, then the chance of flow will start to get reduced, right? Understood?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Take it in opposite way. So if P1 and P2, like if P1, P2 is reducing compared to P1, then what will happen to Pm? It will be increasing or reducing?
Increasing, sir.
It will be increasing. Then 1 by Pm will be reducing, right? When Pm is increasing, 1 by Pm
Yes, sir.
will be reducing. So when 1 by Pm is reducing means what? Whether the flow is increasing or flow is reducing?
So is it reducing?
No, just don't give an answer, try to understand. Or else I will put a table here, so it will be easier for you to,
So 1 by PM in the sense, I didn't get it.
wait. I will just try to put a table so that it will be easier for estimating which one is better. So here, this is Pm, which is equivalent to P1 plus P2 whole by 2, so I am just giving it as 2. Okay, P1 is constant, that we are naming it as 2000 PSA, and P2, if the value of P2 starts to get, this is 2000 and 2000, this will be constant, and if P2 is 1000, if it is increasing 1500 and 3000, so what will be the value of this? 3000 by 2, 1500, right? And 3500 by 2, this 4000 by 2 will be 2000. So what will happen to this? 3500 by 2, what is the answer? 1750, right?
1750, sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
if this is the case, what is happening to flow rate? Whether it is increasing or reducing, that is what I want to understand. Don't talk about calculations, but imagine the difference between P1 and P2 is reducing or increasing. It is reducing, right? Why? Because you see, we are reaching towards reduction side. When the difference is reducing, flow rate will also reduce. Flow rate will also reduce. When you go with the reverse direction, Like P1 is 2000, P2 is 2000. Then after some time, it is like what do you say, 1500 it is dropping and 1000 it is dropping. Then if you could see, flow rate is rising on reduction side. When flow rate is rising, what will happen to 1 by Pm? What will happen to 1 by Pm? Okay, here when you go from top to bottom, 1 by Pm, what is it, will rise or it will reduce? 1 by Pm means 1 by 1500 how much? 1 by 1500.
So 6.6 into 10 to the power minus 4.
6.6. Okay, let us make it up to 6. What about 1 by 1750? 10 power minus 4, we will keep it aside.
So 5.7 into 10 to the power minus 4.
Okay, 5 point, it is showing reduction. Okay, then finally what is the 1 by 2000?
So 5 into 10 to the power minus 4.
5.0, right?
Yes, 5.0.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, I already told you, when you come from top, flow rate is reducing. When you go from bottom, like descending is flow rate is reducing, ascending is flow rate is increasing, right? You agreed up to that, right?
Yes, sir.
Or else shall I explain how it is descending, how it is ascending? Once again, shall I explain?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, let us talk from descending side. Like we will be seeing from the difference between P1 and P2 from descending side. Means the first one, second one, third one. Let us take first one, second one, third one. So we are at the first point. Means where P1 is 2000 psi and P2 is 1000 psi. So difference is 1000 psi difference is there from P1 to P2. So flow is happening very good here. Why? Because of high pressure to low pressure, flow is happening very good. When you come to second point, the difference is only 500. Earlier it is 1000, right now it is 500. So flow have little reduced. When it comes to the third point, both are equal, 0. There is no pressure difference. So there won't be any flow. The flow is ceased here. So flow is reducing. Flow is like reducing, means like movement of oil. When I am talking about flow, it is directly proportional to permeability, and when it is directly proportional to permeability, I am talking about oil permeability. So oil permeability is reducing. That is what I want to tell. The permeability of oil is reducing when the difference is reducing. And you go from reverse side. Here it is 0. There is no permeability of oil, no movement of oil. But after 500 reduction is there. When you go from from 3 to 1. From lower side to top, P1 and P2 at the first point is both are same. When both are same, there won't be any flow. But when you are reaching from first point to second point, you can see pressure difference where 500 is there. P1 is 2000, P2 is 500. When you reach to third one, the difference is increasing from 500 to 1000. So when the pressure difference is increasing, the movement of oil will also increase. So in ascending side, flow rate is increasing, and descending side, flow rate is reducing. So 1 by Pm, if you could see, from ascending side means when you are moving towards highest values, you can expect that the flow will increase. When you are moving from highest to lowest value, then flow will reduce. Just why I am telling you this is, you have to correlate that information with this graph. 1 by Pm, if it is showing arrow mark, means it is ascending. In this graph, what is ascending? From lower to top is ascending. So that means what? When you are going towards 5 to 5.7, from 5.7 to 6.6, then the flow will increase. As per the theory, as per the information, when 1 by Pm is increasing, like 5.0, 5.7, 6.6, 6.8, 6.9, 7, 7.8, 7. So if you are seeing 1 by Pm is increasing, means you can expect that the permeability of liquid is also increasing. At the same time, permeability of gas is also increasing. So that is what I want to tell you. If you understand that, you can see that when you are moving from 0, 1 by pm to x-axis side, you can expect the permeability of liquid to be increased. That is what I want to tell. Okay, here you can see a slant line here, liquid or absolute permeability. You can see a slant line and you can see some inclined line is there. Slippage is there. I will talk about slippage little after this topic. Can you see a slant line?
Yes, sir.
This slant line represents zero movement of liquid. Earlier we were discussing when there is a chance of pressure reduction, I told you that a liquid will move. But I have given a big values, but I have to talk it in the direction of 2000 means now I should not give 1500, I should give 1990, 1980. So, okay, let us don't change the values here. Just what I want to tell is, if the pressure is been declined, if the P2 value is declined from 2000 to 1999, 1998, as per earlier concept, do you think that liquid will move? Until you reach 1990, liquid will not move. That is what I told earlier. Like, but gas is moving. But what I am telling is, with the like when P2 is reducing from 2000 to 1999, 1999 to 1998, 1998 to 1997, 1997 to 1996. So like that, if you are step by step 111 psi, if it is reducing, that will not have any impact on liquid. But gas, because of its high mobility, it will reduce. So until you reach 1990, from 2000 to 1990, then you can see some amount of liquid is being moved. Once it is being moved, you can able to see this line will increase. Until that, it will be a flat line. Means you can expect that 1 by pm from 0 to up to here, the value of P2 is there like up to 1990 only. Okay, below 1990. So these are all the values from pressure is reducing, but it is not reaching to that pressure, so that the liquid movement will be there. But gas, you can see the increment over here, where the liquid is going static. Why? Because we haven't reached 1990. I told you, from 2000 psi to 1990, liquid will not move. But once you reach 1990, then liquid will move. But this 10 psi difference, 10 points are there, na? These 10 points, gas will be moving at each psi. So when you put that graph, it looks like an inclination. So this is a gas graph, this is a liquid graph. You can see that? So this is a liquid graph. I am talking about the values here. 1 by pm means it is dependent on P2 only. There is no change in P1. Only 1 by pm is related to P2 only. So P2 haven't reached 1990. It was in between from 2000 to 1991. Maybe here the value of P2 is 2000. It may be 1991. Next step may be 1990. At that time, you can see a hike of this graph. Until that, this graph will be constant. And you can see, because the gas permeability will not stay at each and every drop of 1 psi pressure will make gas to move, so that the gas permeability is increasing. Have you understand why it is increasing and why it is static?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is what that scientists want to tell is like, until until some critical limit of pressure, liquid will not move, but gas will be moved. So he want to measure the movement of gas when liquid is in static condition. So this is like, you have to take the limit of pressure of P2 from 2000 to 1990. So in between, there won't be any movement of liquid. So that is the flat line. But you can able to see that there will be an increment of gas permeability. So that is giving you this straight line included. Slippage is nothing but the property of gas, even though there is very less pressure reduction where the liquid can't move, but gas will take an advantage of moving. And the concept behind this graph is like, you are measuring gas permeability when liquid shows there is no movement of liquid. Okay, this is about Klinkenberg effect. Okay, let us go into the next topic, that is types of layers for permeability measurement. These are like you are going to measure permeability when the layers were arranged in a different direction. So let us go into that. First one is weighted average, harmonic and geometric. So weighted average, we have different types of arrangement of your layers. So you can see when layers were different, like they were arranged in like a series way, like sorry, parallel way, not series way. It is like arranged in a parallel way. So K1, K2, K3, where there are different. When there are different names are there, they are different. But the length is same. L and W are same. Thickness of each layer is H3, H2, H1, and flow is happening with the pressure difference of P1 to P2. It is P2, this mistake is there. So P1 to P2. And why? Because arrow is showing from this side, so this will be P1 and this is P2. Okay, flow. Flow rate is also different. If this is the case, then if you want to measure overall permeability, then if you consider whole reservoir to be a single reservoir, then you need to calculate total flow rate. Why? Because when you are talking about total flow rate, you are talking about this whole reservoir to be a single reservoir. Okay, that can be equated to 3 layers, Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3. As per Darcy's law, total flow rate will be equivalent to K average, which you are going to measure, W, that is your width, which is like K A del P by mu L. That is like Darcy's law only. K average, A means W into HT because it's a rectangle, so length into width, that is W, length into height, width were given, width into L into B. So L into B were arranged in what direction? For that only. So width is here, height is here. Height, which is represented to total height, not just H3. W is only common, but when it comes to H, it is related to total. So what is this total? H1 plus H2 plus H3. Okay, so HT delta P is P1 minus P2 by viscosity and length. Viscosity will be constant and length. So that will be equivalent to each layer, flow rates. Per each layer flow rates will be K1 WH1 delta P by MUL, K2 WH2 delta P by MUL, K3. Why? Because 3 layers are there, so you are putting 3. So W mu L will cancel and K average HT is equal to H1, and finally you will be getting K average is equal to K1 H1 plus K2 H2 plus K3 H3 by HT. What is HT? H1 plus H2 plus H3. That's it. Okay, if you have 4 layers, then K1 H1 plus K2 H2 plus K3 H3 plus K4 H4 by HT. 5 means plus K5 H4. So you can equate this one to this. Sigma j is equal to 1 to n, kj hj, j representing 1 to n. Here n is 3. If 4 layers are there, 4. 5 layers are there, n is equal to 5. In the same way, ht is nothing but sigma j is equal to 1 to n. If it is 3, j is equal to 1 to 3 hj. So h1 plus h2 plus h3. So that is your ht. Here there is another case, like if width is also altering, like you can see the same diagram only, but width you have different widths. So W1, W2, W3. In place of H, you need to add, you cannot cancel W's here. Why? Because here W total will come, that will be W1 H1 del P, W2 H2 del P, and W3 H3 del P. So WH will give you areas only. So in place of H, you are putting WH, which you can represent it as area. In the same way, denominator also. So this is about weighted average. When it comes to harmonic average, it is looking like series way of representing. Here, you cannot equate flow rate. You have to talk about like with respect to pressure difference. Per each layer, your pressure will be different from pressure difference will be different. Why? Because delta P1 representing first layer pressure difference, delta P2 representing second layer pressure difference, delta P3 representing third layer pressure difference. Again, you are going to put as delta P as a reservoir as a whole. So when you apply Darcy's law for delta P, which is representing for whole reservoir, Q mu L by A K average. In the same way, Q mu will be common, L1 by A K1, which is for delta P1, for delta P2 and delta P3. Then Q mu by A, Q mu by A on LHS, RHS will cancel, and this will come L by K1. This is all like rearrangement of this. L representing the length L1 plus L2 plus S3. So how many L's are there? You can name it like the sigma I is equal to 1 to n Li. So if it is 3, L1 plus L2 plus L3. If it is 4, L1 plus L2 plus L3 plus L4. In the same way, denominator L by Ki, sigma I is equal to 1 to n, this one. So this is the formulas. This formula K average, this formula for weighted permeability are important. So this is what I was just trying to tell you how they derived actually. Okay. And this is geometric average. If here actually we were not talking about different thicknesses, like if everything is altered, like here at least some common points are there, like width and length is common, and here length is common, here what is the common, width is common and height is common. So if nothing is common, then you have to name it as geometric average permeability, where it can be measured like exponential sigma I is equal to 1 to n, different thicknesses, so Hi, ln Ka, different permeabilities. So that is the reason they have mentioned it as ln Ka. So if you are having 3 layers, means n representing 3. At the same time here also, how many thicknesses are there? I is equal to 1 to 3. So H1 ln K1 plus H2 ln K2 plus H3 ln K3 by H1 plus H2 plus H3, if n is equal to 3. If it is for 4, 5, then that will be extended. So this is simple formulas you need to remember. Okay, let us come to the relationship between porosity and permeability. Finally, if anyone asks you the relation, this is the answer. K is equal to 5r square by 8. How it came? It came with 2 formulas. One is Darcy's law, which is on this one. Q is equal to KAC by mu del P by L. AC representing cross-sectional area of your reservoir. And this is according to Poisson's equation. When there is a laboratory experiment which can be simulated as a reservoir like core sample, then you can calculate flow rate with respect to this formula, n pi r power 4 by 8 mu delta P by L. So Q both equated, then you will be getting this answer. And internal surface area per pore volume, internal surface area per grain volume. So surface area per pore volume, surface area per grain volume. Vp pore volume, the answer will be, both sides denominators will be same, but here surface area and grain area, these two will be differed, and 2 by r, this will come like if you go deeper into this calculations, it will be coming. So what is the value of SVP? You can remember 2 by r. What is the value of SVGR? Is n pi r square by AC, 2 by r, 1 by 5, 1 by 1 minus 5. So when you are when someone asks you the relationship between SVGR, porosity and permeability, then 1 by 2 S square VGR 5 cube by 1 minus 5 whole square. These are all results from your derivation. Okay, so these are the formulas which are related to porosity permeability. The major one is K is equal to 5r square by 8, and I have given the values of SVP, SVGR and this value, but most of the time they will be asking you, okay, what is the relationship between porosity and permeability? That is the formula, and how it came, because of these two equations. And let us go to capillary pressure curves, and I will explain how these 3 curves will come. One is drainage of water, imbibition of water, and second drainage of water. When you are talking drainage, means it represents water, not oil. So you have to name your curves with respect to water only. So drainage of water is like water is being drained. It was displaced by oil. Imbibition of water means that water which was earlier, which have been drained, that have imbibed back, means it has recovered back, it came back. When it is coming back, it is displacing oil. So again, after some time, second drainage of water, again water is being drained, which represents oil is displacing it. Okay, that is how, when the name was there like curve drainage of water, means we have to talk with respect to water. Why? Because our x-axis is SW. So that is the reason we will talk with respect to water. Okay, so what is drainage of water? And when we talk about PC, that is like pressure of non-wetting minus pressure of wetting, which is on y-axis. You can see top is positive, below is negative. So at middle, PC is equal to 0. PC is equal to 0 means PC, which is non-wetting phase pressure, is equivalent to wetting phase pressure. Means non-wetting phase pressure is oil, wetting phase pressure is water. When both pressures were equal, PC will become 0. When non-wetting phase pressure is dominating wetting phase pressure, then it will be positive. When non-wetting phase pressure is less compared to wetting phase pressure, then it will be negative. That means if oil pressure is higher compared to water, it will be positive. When oil pressure is lower compared to water, then that will be negative. Up to here it is the thing. Okay, let us talk about this pink line. Pink or orange? Yeah, pink line. I think it is orange. Okay, orange line. So this is your drainage of water, first curve. And you can always remember this arrow mark is important. This is the arrow mark which will help you to identify the direction of your curve, where it is started and where it is ending actually. Okay, so you can see it is not touching x-axis. There is some gap is there. So means PC is positive here. So it is moving towards positive side and the line started from there. What is the reason behind that? Actually, every time when you talk about reservoir, initially when there is no presence of oil, you have to expect that your reservoir was filled by water. Naturally water is there, then oil came and it started to occupy. So oil came near to water and it was supposed to push water away from the reservoir so that it can occupy that empty space. So is it like oil has to pressurize? So right now your whole reservoir was filled by water. So right now oil have to pressurize in such a way that water has to get displaced. How it will be pressurizing? A little bit amount of oil which is present beside the reservoir cannot able to pressurize the water what is present inside your reservoirs. That means what? Oil has to start getting accumulated volume by volume. So 1 barrel oil, 2 barrels oil, 3 barrel oil which is present near to the reservoir will not help water to get displaced by oil. It requires a little bit amount, like it may require 1000 barrels of oil to get accumulated near to the reservoir, so that with that amount of oil it will start to pressurize, it will exert pressure towards water inside the reservoir. That will make water to get displaced from the other side. That is what, why? Because it has to enter inside, oil has to enter inside, so water will be displaced on the other side, which is porous on the other side, that will be displaced. So huge amount of oil volume is required to displace water which is present inside your reservoir. So for that reason, what is the amount of pressure which is required? It is not just like 1 or 2 pressure. Probably the non-wetting phase pressure should be having this much pressure difference between wetting phase pressure. That is the reason it is showing positive. When it is showing positive, but not even one amount of saturation also have it entered, but still the pressure have reached to some extent. When it is reaching means when the pressure is increasing, non-wetting phase pressure is increasing, oil pressure is increasing. When oil pressure is increasing means the amount of oil beside the reservoir started to get accumulated more and more. And 1 psa pressure cannot displace water, 2 psa pressure cannot displace water, 3 psa pressure cannot displace water, until you reach 5 psa pressure. So when PC becomes 5 units, means when P and W is 5 units, 5 PSS more than PW, then you can see some amount of water being displaced. Once water getting displaced, then oil will start to enter into your reservoir from 0, 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. See, the saturation of oil is increasing. Saturation of oil is increasing, it is going in this direction means water saturation is being reduced. Water saturation is reducing while oil saturation increases, and finally it reaches towards a point where most of the water have been displaced, but it haven't reached to here, it haven't reached to the 0 saturation of water. It reached near to the 0 saturation of water. Why? Because the connate water which was there earlier during the birth of sedimentary rock, that cannot be displaced by your oil. So that was left. So when you project this point towards x-axis, the amount is known to be SWI, which is representing connate water saturation. SWI is a synonym of SCW also. Interstitial water. SWI representing interstitial water, that is nothing but connate water. So this is the water which was left by oil. It cannot be, nothing can be done to produce this, displace this water. So your curve 1 ends up to here. So drainage of water have been completed until SWI. So SWI cannot be drained. Okay, up to here it was completed. Then right now oil have came inside the reservoir, it stood there. So right now again water which is behind oil, always water will be there. Again water has to displace. You can ask me, sir, oil reservoirs are there, water reservoirs are there. Again, why water is coming and displacing oil? Oil is accumulating for millions of years and you are expected water to displace oil. So that question may come into your mind. But actually, to say in reality, this is not the real concept. This is an experiment. It was done in laboratory. So in reality, it will not happen. But to study the properties of the reservoir rock, you need to understand the concept. So this was an experiment done in laboratory. So initially, oil have been flooded by water, and water means flooded or like drained. You can start. Water have been drained by oil, and oil occupied inside the reservoir. Right now, you are going to inject water. If you talk it in the terms of laboratory, you are going to inject water in such a way that oil will get displaced and water will start to imbibe. So that is the second curve. So when you are injecting water, up to here, oil have been occupied where the little amount of water is left. Right now when you are injecting water, the saturation of water will increase and oil saturation will decrease. At the same time, the pressure of non-wetting phase will reduce and pressure of wetting phase will increase. So PC automatically will go down. So you can see the direction. You can see the direction. So it is showing the arrow which is showing until you reach the point where PC becomes 0. So here PNW is dropping, PW is increasing. Finally, means like oil pressure is dropping, water pressure is increasing. Water is again coming back. Water is imbibing back. When water is imbibing back, oil pressure will reduce. So it will reduce, and finally you reach towards a point where water pressure as well as oil pressure become equal. So here we name this one as, we name this particular saturation as SPW. What is SPW? SPW means up to here water by itself have pushed oil. So spontaneous water saturation. So water is pushing oil by itself, like you are not injecting much pressure. You just kept water by the volume of water what is present, it is pushing oil towards to displace from the reservoir until the both pressures become equal. So at this saturation you can able to expect there is no need to apply pressure. Beyond this pressure means, and this is SPW. SPW is this one. SPW means until SPW water will push oil by itself. There is no need for external application of pressure. But beyond SPW means if you still want to push oil beyond this means you need to inject more amount of water with pressure. When you are pressurizing, then P and W will go even less than 0 and PW will go up. In that way, it will go towards negative side and finally the oil will be displaced to the maximum until it reaches where the residual oil, you can see that SOR. If you project it towards the x-axis, the left out oil which cannot be pushed by water, that can be named it as SOR. So until SPO, no need to application of any pressure, but beyond SPO you need to apply pressure so that it can displace remaining oil until you reach your residual oil saturation. So here connate water saturation, here residual oil saturation. So again the process will be reversed where the oil here have been minimum and water was maximum. And right now again the process like your curve 1, it will be repeated from the down where the again what do you say, oil will start to imbibe, I mean it will come once again back, so that it will drain water again. When the process is been reversed, again the pressure will be reduced. So until you reach towards a point where this particular point, oil will push water until some extent by itself. But after this point, it requires additional pressure. How additional pressure will be applied? By injecting again some amount of oil. In reality, in field cases, we are not going to inject back, but in laboratory, we are going to inject oil to displace water. So you are pressurizing water by injecting oil. In that way, PC will become positive and water pressure will become negative. Sorry, it will reduce. PW will become positive. So automatically it will go up. And finally, once you will be reaching where it is like the repetition of your curve 1. Curve 3 and curve 1 are repeated once again, but they are not going in the same path. That is the reason we name that one as capillary hysteresis. Hysteresis means when you are going in a path, when you reverse the conditions in the same way what happened earlier, then you are not coming in the same path. You will be having some deviation. So that is the reason. If you could see, curve 1 and curve 3 are not connecting, but the same pressures, same things are happening here, but still they are not connecting. Actually, it should be like this only. Because of so many other aspects are there, these two curves cannot be collided. You see drainage of water, second drainage of water. Both conditions same, but they are not. If you could see the graph, there is a gap between these two. They are nearby, but they are not connecting. So that is that is what we will be naming that as capillary hysteresis. And you can see here, this is about 3 graphs. One is drainage of water, which is this pink one, and imbibition of water, where water have been recovered back by displacing oil. You reach it to maximum point where water have been completely occupied the reservoir, leaving residual oil saturation. Again, oil started to drain water until SPO, where it can do it by itself. After that, you need to apply additional pressure that will still reduce, displace water until you reach towards your correct water saturation. So curve 1 drainage of water, curve 2 imbibition of water, curve 3 second drainage of water. So curve 1 and curve 3 are almost same, but they are not connecting to each other. They are not following the same path because of capillary hysteresis. Capillary hysteresis is the definition. If someone asks you what is capillary hysteresis, you are going in a path. Curve 1 means you are going in a path with pressure and like PC and SW, we are going with a path. But when it is reversing back, when the same conditions were reversed back, you are not following the same path. You are taking a deviation. Why you are taking a deviation means there are so many changes already done inside the reservoir that will not allow the same path to be followed. It will be deviating to another part. So what are those changes happened? That has to be discussed in some other session actually. So there will be so many areas. Why? Because even the time will change, lithology will change, permeability will change, saturation will change, porosity will change, capillary pressures will change, so many things will change. So with that way, it will not take the same path. So that is about capillary hysteresis. So SCW representing connate water saturation, SC, it is not SCO, it is SOR. SOR means residual oil saturation, which is there here. SCW, SWI same only. SPW, which is here where the water by itself can push oil. Beyond that, you need pressure to push oil. SPO means where oil can push water. Beyond that, you need pressure. So this is what about SCW saturations. SCW, SOR, SPW, SPO. And one more thing here I have to tell you, here A1 is there, A2 is there. What is this A1 and A2? See, A1 is nothing but you can see like a triangle, like almost like above area, inside this capillary pressure, above there is an area is there, that we name it as A1. Below negative side also you are having an area which covers inside this capillary pressure. If the area of A1 is bigger than area of A2, then you can say this is oil wet. If area of A1 is lesser than area of A2, then it is water wet. If both represent same, then it is neutral wet. So in capillary pressure also you can able to identify either it is oil wet or water wet. So in wettability cases you can see, in this case A1 seems to be higher than A2, so it is oil wet. So the reservoir represents oil wet. So A2, which is showing a little area, which is not having that impact. I mean, it shows that water percentage is less compared to oil. So wettability, I am talking about wettability. So A1 is showing higher than A2. That will give you conclusion that it is oil wet in this diagram. This is about wettability. Wettability is again a property of reservoir rock to hold a liquid. You can see here there are different liquid droplets are there. You can see the angle is obtuse. Obtuse means it is right angle, which is beyond right angle is obtuse, and this is acute. Okay, when it is making acute, it is yeah. Any doubt?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So, yes, sir. Like, what is the difference between the connate water saturation and normal water saturation, sir?
What actually connate water saturation is the water which came from the birth of your sedimentary rock, and it is not. See, I will tell you, when reservoir rock is forming into a actual rock, na, it requires some water. Clay will be there. Water will. Clay to become harder, it requires some water. So you know this concept, like without water clay will not become, it cannot be solidified or it cannot act like a gum. So when water mixes with the clay, then it will act like a gum. So this clay will act like a gum to hold all the grains, and it will finally form into a reservoir rock. So the water which have been consumed by clay to connect all the mineral grains, that water we name it as connate water. And the water which came through porous regions of your reservoir rock and settled inside your reservoir rock in the pore spaces, that is your normal water saturation. Water saturation. Water saturation is the water which came from outside. But this connate water saturation is required to form your sedimentary rock. It is the birth rock. This water have been utilized by your rock to become a rock. Understood?
Yes, sir.
That is like a birth rock. Like initially this water came from the time your rock have been born as a rock. But after some time this water cannot be removed anyway. It is like static. It will be there until it is completely shattered. It is completely, what you say, it becomes like a mixed. You have to do some crush or grinding thing so that connate water will be removed. But normally, if until it is in the form of rock, connate water will be always staying. This water which came after that, like it will come through a channel. There will be some passage will be there inside the rock. So where water will come as well as oil also will come through that passage. In the same way, other passage will be there to allow them to go away. So that water will come and it will go away. In the same way, oil will come and it will, nothing will stay. This will come and this will bypass, but connate water will always stay. Until you do, today technology is advancing so that even you can able to destroy connate water also. Until that process, connate water will always stay. But primary, secondary, you can't do anything with connate water. Maybe with EOR. See, because EOR represents so many dangerous techniques also. In that way, you can do some other kind of blasting technique or something to destroy connate water also. But with normal primary and secondary recovery method, you cannot recover connate water. So that is the thing. Okay. So let us go into this concept.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, wettability. See, you can see the angle between, see, you can see a tangent which was drawn towards the liquid, Minsky. So you can see the surface of this liquid, we can name that one as Minsky. So this is representing obtuse, this is representing right angle, and this is representing acute. And this is flat, totally water wet, which is like flat. Okay, which is like reducing angle, it is like, imagine this is around 120 degrees, this is 90 degrees, this is 30 degrees, and this is 0 degrees. So you can take like that. This is sand. See, we are talking with respect to water. If water is what is this water, what phase it is water, and oil is like continuous phase and water is discontinuous phase. Why? Because bubbles were created only for discontinuous phase. So you can see here bubble which is respected to water, means water is here discontinuous phase, oil is continuous phase. Okay, when you see angle made by discontinuous phase, if it shows obtuse, then that particular angle made by that particular droplet is not going to wet with that surface. If it is obtuse, if the contact angle of that liquid is obtuse, then if that was made by water, means water cannot wet that surface. If it made it as right angle, then both fluids, discontinuous as well as continuous, have equal opportunity to wet that surface. But when it is obtuse, other, which is like continuous phase fluid, will have an advantage over discontinuous phase, that is water. But right angle representing both sides is having same opportunity to wet. And if it is like acute, if the angle when you drop was fallen on a surface, if it is showing in a 30 degrees angle, less than 90 degrees, then it has more attraction towards the surface compared to the other continuous phase, which is oil. If it is flat, means the fluid which has fallen on the surface is having 100% attraction towards your surface, where the other substance is there that has been pulled back. So you can see there is no oil connecting to the surface. Here there is a chance. Here very less area taken by water. You can see here it is like equal opportunity. This side the space, this side the space, almost same. But here much amount of space was occupied by water, and here no oil is touching the sandstone. That means total water wet. Water is taking 0 degrees, like completely it is attaching. It is just hugging the sandstone. It is completely here. They are just in this place. If you say it is touching, here it is hugging. So in that way you can take it. Okay, this is how wettability of fluids towards reservoir rock surfaces. See, the continuous phase means the phase which is plenty is continuous, which is like a relative, like you are putting in a bucket of water when you are putting oil. So that is what this bubbles will be created in that. When in a bucket of oil, if you put water, then the bubbles created over there is discontinuous phase. Oil is continuous, water is discontinuous. So when it comes to bucket of water, when you are putting some amount of oil, means water is continuous phase and oil is discontinuous phase. In this example, a bucket of oil when water is being injected. Okay, here oil represents continuous phase and water is discontinuous phase. When discontinuous phase angle is obtuse, then it is non-wettable to the surface. If it is right angle, it is having equal opportunity, both are having. If it is acute, it has more chance compared to other one. If it is like 0, then it has complete opportunity to wet the reservoir rock. Okay, when it comes to compressibility, so these are the formulas. Gas and oil compressibility. So gas compressibility formula is -1 by V, dou V by dou P. The same formula applies to oil also. But when you are talking about gas, everybody know ideal gas law. V is equal to Z nRT by P. So Z is here. So nRT Z by P. And when you derivate it, dou V by dou P with respect to T, Z is like gas compressibility, which cannot be constant. Other things are constant. You can bring it on the left hand side, nRT 1 by P dou Z by dou P, and Z into 1 by P derivation will be -1 by P. So that will be -1 by P into P square. Okay, this and n when 1 by V is there. If you put the value over here, V value, and if you put this V value here and dou V by dou P value here, then finally you will be getting this equation. Cg is equal to 1 by P minus 1 by Z dou Z by dou P, where the temperature is constant. But at ideal gas conditions, gas compressibility is 1. If you put the value of 1 here, dou by dou P of any constant will be 0. So that will be 1 by P. At ideal conditions, the value will be 1 by P. And for oil, the formula is -1 by V dou V by dou P. Formation volume factor of gas. The formula was already known, that is like volume of gas at reservoir conditions to the volume of gas at surface conditions. So PT representing reservoir conditions, P volume of gas, pressure and temperature, where the pressure and temperatures are high, so that is PT. And volume of gas, SC represents surface conditions. What are the formulas? ZnRT by P, that is for VPT. ZSC, where the surface condition, ZSC will be 1, and TSC, that temperature, and PSC, they are already given 520 degree Rankine and 14.7. If you put that value, you will be getting this equation. PSC by TSC, that value you have to put it, then finally you will be getting this answer. BG is equal to 0.02827 ZT by P. When you convert that into oil field terms, 0.2, you have their API have given, that's numerical 0.0050735 ZT by P. So 1 by BG is EG. So 1 by 0.005035 will be 35.37, and ZT by P will be reversed as P by ZT. So here it is cubic feet by SCF, so SCF by cubic feet will be written. And this is oil field, only numerical term will change. This is expansion of gas, this is formation volume factor of gas. Simple formula is volume of gas at reservoir to the same volume at surface condition. When you apply gas law, then you will be getting this equation. In oil field terms, this equation. The only numerical will change. 1 by BG for this and 1 by BG for this. That is your expansion of gas. And when it comes to oil formation volume factor, a graph which has very important significance of, it is a very important graph, this one. So this is also the same formula, volume of oil at reservoir to the same volume when you take it to surface conditions. Okay, and formation volume factor is a function of RS representing solution gas, gamma G representing specific gravity of gas, gamma O representing specific gravity of oil, and T representing reservoir temperature. Okay, we have X and Y axis formation volume factor of oil here, and pressure which is on X axis. Here highest pressure we are naming this one as reservoir pressure, and the pressure where the first bubble escapes is bubble point pressure, and below that one will be below pressure, and finally you are reaching your surface pressure. So when you are calculating volume of oil at reservoir to the same volume at surface condition at initial point, the value will be higher. So when you are when you start producing oil from subsurface to surface, pressure is being dropped. So because of solution gas which is present inside your volume of oil, that will expand. So always denominator is constant. So solution gas will expand volume of oil, so that will create VO will be expanding. In the same way, BO is also expanding when you reduce pressure from PI to PB. So BO is expanding when pressure is being reduced. Here it has arrow mark should be like this. So when you are moving from PI to PB, VO will be expanding. Once you reach PB, then what will happen is solution gas will start to escape from crude oil. So once it is, I already told you, we have discussed this in drive mechanisms. Once solution gas escapes from the oil, it will not move, it will not expand the oil. It will just escape from the oil. That will lead oil volume to drop back. Again, the volume of oil will be dropping back. Why? Because the gas has been escaping after bubble point pressure. Then gas started to get escaped from the oil. Then oil volume is getting dropped. Finally, it will reach towards a point where the oil volume and the surface volume will become equal. Why? Because it cannot be zero. Why? Because whole oil will not be evaporated. Only the gas, the solution gas which is present inside the oil will get evaporated. It get escaped and evaporated. But at surface, the left out part is oil, the same oil which you have measured earlier to the surface. So both will be equal. That will make the value to be 1. So the least value of BO will be equivalent to 1, not 0. Why? Because oil will not evaporate, only gas will evaporate, volume will be shrinked until it reaches the surface conditions. So denominator also the same thing and numerator also the same thing. Once you reach to surface conditions, volume of oil without gas will be a little. from when you're coming from reservoir conditions to surface conditions, all gas will escape and finally the left out oil will be the same as earlier oil. So both values will be same and finally we will be getting an answer of 1. So the least value of BO is 1. So reserve estimation techniques, we have volumetric, material balance, production decline and simulation. So this one, for volumetric we have two formulas, oil and gas. For material balance also you have, for oil material balance is there and gas material balance is there. And the production decline curves, you have three types are there: exponential, harmonic, hyperbolic. Simulation is a definite, we are going to, this is a very big concept which is related to mathematical laws are there as well as some softwares are implied. So let us see, there are four types of reserve estimation techniques. One is volumetric, material balance, production decline and simulation. First one, volumetric. For gas, this is the formula: G is equal to 43,560. A, which is representing area of your reservoir, that should be in acres. H representing thickness, which should be in feet. Phi is porosity, that is in percentage. 1 minus SWI, saturation of water, and BGA, formation volume factor of gas at initial conditions. When it comes to oil, N is like amount of oil. 7,713 into AH. A means area of the reservoir, same thing, AH5, AH5. 1 minus SWA, 1 minus SW. In place of BGA, BOI, that's it. This one will be in cubic feet, this one will be in barrels. And let us talk about material balance for gas. Okay, what is material balance for gas? The same thing. Once gas starts to get produced, the produced gas is represented as the moles of gas, that is NP, is equal to initial moles of gas minus remaining moles of gas. NF representing remaining moles of gas. Ni representing initial moles of gas and NP representing how much moles of gas have been produced. When you use this in your ideal gas law, volume is represented as GP, amount of gas produced with respect to volume. PSC by N is equal to PV is equal to ZNRT. So N is equal to PV by ZRT. So Z at surface condition it will be 1. PV, V is like PSC. Why? Because at surface condition P will be PSC. At surface condition the volume of gas is nothing but the produced gas, that is GP, and the gas constant R is as it is. R is constant everywhere, and the temperature at surface condition will be TSC. The same PV by ZRT which is initially, and PV by ZRT which is remaining. Remaining, why? Because this V will not be the same. Why? Because water will come inside. So you need to ignore that V. So that is the reason you are going to add this. This itself is material balance equation for gas.